So I got the Tao Tao running again yesterday, and I took it for a little ride. We'll see if it starts today. A little tough. I'm gonna try the kickstart. So it took a little bit to get started. But the point I was getting to is I'm positive the valves aren't adjusted properly, because yesterday I bought a feeler gauge, this mini one. This was $2.99, and I made the mistake of not looking up what size I needed before I went to the store. So what I ended up with was the cheapest feeler gauge there, and I figured this would do the trick for what I needed. I'm just trying to open it here. And the smallest one is 0.010. And the recommended size that I need was 0.004, or some people do 0.003 or 0.005. Either way, this was the one I should have bought in the first place, the larger one. Instead, I bought the mini one. I was able to adjust the valves and put them really tight on the 0.01 and get it running, but you know it's not right. So I went back today, bought this one, $6.99. Should have just spent the money in the first place, like always. Here it has the sizes. The 0.004 be the one I need. So these have oil on them, and the 0.004 is very thin. It's like paper as I'm going through them, being very gentle. So this is much thinner than, the one I used yesterday. Let me get that one back out. So to recap, the scooter wouldn't run at all for a while, or it would run and then it would die out and you wouldn't get top speed, and then finally it wouldn't run at all. Couldn't figure it out, changed the carb, the spark plug wire, all kinds of things. Eventually I noticed the exhaust valve was tight, and I never adjusted the valves because I didn't have the feeler gauges. So that's where I am to today. Hopefully this is the last time I pull the motor apart and adjust them again. This was the one I used yesterday, the 0.01, pretty thick compared to the 0.004. Very thin like paper, very flexible. This one not so much. I should have just bought this one in the beginning, $6.99. Now I'm stuck with a mini feeler gauge, which is pretty useless. But we're going to pull this apart, adjust the valves properly to 0.004, and I bought a new NGK Iridium plug. Right now I'm running the stock plug in it, but so it should be running back to the way it was perfectly within an hour or so, give or take. Depends on your scooter, of course. So hopefully I can get away with not doing all that again. Should just have to pop the valve cover off. I don't think I'll have to. I might be able to just bend around this, because it's not really. It's a little broken anyways. I did buy that new carb, but I'll probably just return that. This is the stock carb. I can't get into the bottom and change the jetting, but some people say I should upjet it, so maybe I will keep that carb. And then, the carb was supposed to come with a 90 main jet, but it didn't, so that's why I was going to return it. Anyways, back to the valve cover. So to adjust the valves, first you have to take the valve cover off. 5/16 is what I'm using. I think you could use an 8mm, pretty sure it's the same thing. So I've removed all the screws, and I can kind of just pull mine out of the way. Pull your spark plug wire off, get that out of the way. And if you've never taken your valve cover off, I'll show you where the screw holes are. You have 2 at the top here, 1 on this corner, and then 3 down here. Your scooter might not have this. I believe this is the pair system, but anyways, onto the valves. I'll just kick start it a little bit slowly until the holes line up where we need them. A little more. You want the big hole here at the top and these two little holes horizontal with this. Maybe a little more. I don't want to go too far. So I would say that's good. And we'll go ahead and adjust the valves now. And there's a little bit of play in this one. The exhaust one's a little tighter, but we know they were wrong because I used the wrong size feeler gauge. We'll see if we can still get that one in there. It's a little too tight. So I'll set the camera up and we'll get the proper feeler gauge and go from there. Then you just loosen that nut a little bit. Sometimes you can do it by hand. This one you can. And just turn the screw down and that will adjust it so you don't get any wiggle. You turn it up and then you get all kinds of wiggle. At one point when I was having the trouble with it, I put it back together, it was running, and then I took it apart again and this was slapping. It wouldn't run, so we're gonna do it right, and then I'll probably put some Loctite on there maybe. Not sure if that's a thing that people do, but I'll probably do it. So that's tight, probably a little too tight. Back it off a little bit. Down a little more. And I never adjusted the valves when I did the big bore kit, which was probably a mistake there. But I didn't have the feeler gauges, didn't know better. No excuse really. So that's a little tight, but so now we'll just put the valve cover back on. Put all your screws in for that, tighten them up, and then put your spark plug wire back on. I don't know if your scooter's like mine, it might have two green wires that go right here. Make sure you put those back, and we'll see if it starts up. So I have the valves all adjusted. Here's the new feeler gauges. So I thought I had the Tao Tao all fixed. I adjusted the valves. And then I stopped and I hear like a hissing and splashing, like a burning. And that's a big puddle of oil down there under the car. I don't know where it's coming from. Haven't figured that out yet. But definitely not good. Tons of oil just leaking out there. So I've got the cover off. And after I noticed the puddle of oil, I checked it on the dipstick and it was still fine, so I wrote it home. But it looks like it's coming from this seal right here. Probably that gasket. So what I'm going to do is just pull it all off. Put some gasket seal on it. Put it back together. And try it again. This is going to be like the 10th time I've had it apart. So I finally got it all back together. I checked the valve clearance again and stuff. And I put a gasket, or I made a gasket with that RTV silicone at every possible place, so that should take care of it. You know, timing chain tensioner, gasket, intake, gasket, valve cover, gasket, and it's the red high temp, but I haven't started it yet. We'll see if it starts. Let me find the key, and of course I'll show you guys the lights on the Tao Tao Thunder. In case you haven't seen it, this is just the strip that I put here, a reflective strip. It looks red from a distance, kind of cool. Those are the LEDs on the front of the Tao Tao. Kickstart out, switch on. So the Tao Tao was a little tough to start this morning. This is the first day since I just did all the gasket seal and stuff. I'm gonna take the seat out. So you can tell it's definitely gasket sealed up. It seems okay to take to work today. I mean, I just had it running down the driveway. A little sputtery maybe, but nah, I can't kickstart it now, but so I'll take it to work today, see how many more kilometers we can get on it before I have to pull the motor apart again. Seems like that's a normal thing now. Ride the scooter for a couple days, pull the motor apart. You know, it's fun. I didn't put all the plastics back on yet, just because, so hopefully we don't have any issues there.